Okay, so what 1980 movie did you like?
Not many.
Even though you picked 7 of them.
Not many.
I know what you're thinking. You know what I'm thinking. You want to be here. You want to be with me.
His name is Julian Kay.
You know who I am. I know who you are. So what you expected?
His business is pleasure.
Hello, Judy. You got a sexy lady. Pretty good looking woman. You can like me. I can tell. We have a lot of fun.
He is the American Gigolo.
Hello, girls.
How about you? How do you get pleasure?
Brubaker.
Okay. I like that one too. That was a win for me.
I liked Brubaker, and there were parts that I actually did like Popeye, the town.
Yeah, there was some, yep.
But yeah.
Well, this is the last episode for 1980.
And it's going to be a
Cartwheels.
shocker. Not.
I had never seen this.
Neither have I.
Oh, really? Okay,
Neither have I. I actually saw the trailer,
sure.
but I had no desire to see it. However,
Even though Richard Gere was...
How do you do it, Julian? How do you seduce all these women? Police think you're involved in a murder in Palm Springs a week ago.
I'm being framed by somebody. Don't know who.
You've been identified, Julian.
I am in deep trouble.
I think you're guilty of sin.
Richard Gere, Lauren Hutton, American Gigolo.
in it. You've talked about Richard Gere. I've known you for years.
I know. And what was so weird about this was for a movie made at this time, I mean, Gigolo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Obviously, it pushed him into sex symbol iconic. You'd be very hard pressed to find a woman that didn't want Richard Gere.
Right.
He had all the elements, you know, tall, dark, good looking, blah, blah, blah. But what kind of threw me is having a movie such as this. I mean, and he was coming off of you know, Mr. Goodbye,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But for him to take a chance doing a movie like this, I mean, come on, let's face it, you know, escort for older women.
Right. It's interesting because, you know, he was like the last pick.
He was. There was two people that, Christopher Reeves and John Travolta.
Like, Christopher Reeves was going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And John Travolta was fitted for the suits.
For the Armani suits, which Armani sales went.
Right.
Yes.
And so I thought that was pretty, yeah, it was pretty wild. Because if he's the last pick, to me, John Travolta, no way. I mean, Urban Cowboy, we did that same year. You know, come on, no way.
No.
And Christopher Reeve coming off of Superman like that? No, that it just would have never worked.
No, not at all.
This was a $5 million budget movie. It did $52.7 million in the box office. There is zero chance that Christopher Reeve or John Travolta would have pulled that off.
No. And what I didn't like about it either, and I know that obviously there wasn't a big soundtrack with it other than Call Me from
there
Blondie.
was, right.
There was no other mix of music other than making little melodies, but you could still hear that it was Call Me.
Yeah.
I was really kind of disappointed in who they had as a lead for actress. Lauren Hutton's okay, but I would have never thought her to be in this type of role.
Yeah.
I'm not. She may be a great actress in other things, but I just didn't think that she was great in here.
Yeah, you know, there was nothing about this that was outstanding for me. You know, it was too slow. I can understand at the time why it did so well, but it does not hold weight today. There's, you know, like even Urban Cowboy holds some weight today. Popeye certainly, with obviously they broke all the rules with it. You know, some of those kinds of things that holds weight today. This just doesn't. There's nothing in here that holds anything.
And I was really kind of surprised for it being that sexual-based theme film. They kept the sex scenes to a minimum. Now, in today's day and age, that looks pretty tame. I mean, you look at 50 Shades of Grey, you look at Netflix, The Sexy Life, you look at 365 Days. I mean,
I've never seen any of those, by the way.
Oh, my God. Seriously?
I've heard about people, or heard people that have seen it.
You should watch them. I was just like, holy cats, they're actually showing everything.
Sure.
And what makes this even cool, for the main star doing a full frontal.
Yeah.
That
I was shocked at that.
was like, whoa. Because
Yeah.
I remember when I first saw it, I'm like, I'm like, oh, holy.
Did you know that wasn't in the script?
I did not know that.
He decided to do that in that scene. Was
Pretty
like,
genius.
it just seemed right. He was like, this just seems like the natural thing to do in a movie like this, in a scene like that.
Pretty genius, actually.
But
like I said, that you will be hard pressed to find a woman that just did not fall in love. I mean, he was like a dreamboat.
He's a good-looking guy.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, I
but
have to say that.
You know, but what I also loved about this movie too is it kind of went full circle. He reunited with Hector again.
Yeah.
For Pretty Woman.
Right.
And I love Hector. Hector's never going to be a main actor. He's always going to be a great supporting role.
He makes a great cop too.
He does.
You know,
as Detective Sunday,
right.
he made a great cop. But I have to tell you that the one that was really kind of spooky for me was Leon.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Predator. You know, later.
Yes.
You know, so that's the only thing I'm thinking of when I see. I'm like, what?
What?
Predator.
Predator.
He's. You know.
So I mean, but yeah, I understand why they had to make the storyline the way they did. You have to have something to build this line up other than just a man servicing older women.
Right.
You know, which to me, I'm sorry, I know that it happens. I know that, you know, they're escorts, but I'm like, ooh, older women. But okay. But
everybody has to have their
everybody's got to have something. And I kind of liked it, you know. Yep, I'm not going to do kink. I'm not going to do, you know, gay on gay. Kind of. I mean, it was kind of funny how they are, how some of this for that time comes out.
Yeah, well, they're coming out of the late 70s like this, and some of the things that were going on culturally.
Yeah,
at
the Studio
time,
54.
And,
Andy Warhol years.
Right. Yeah. So it's an interesting kind of risk at that time. Especially with the like I say, the culture at that time was like, that was pretty high level risque stuff.
However, I think he's pure genius, you know, going from Mr. Goodbart, going to this one, which he's got the female audience, which is going to lead him into Officer and a Gentleman.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, I think he marketed himself really well. To make himself not forgettable.
Yeah, he's a smart guy for sure. I think he's one of those that he knows that if he just has some of the patience that is needed in some of these things back then, he's older now, obviously. He fit into some of those places so well, even though he wasn't the first pick.
True.
In several of those. I mean, he took Chicago from John Travolta.
Yes.
Same thing. You know?
Yes.
So there's stuff like that I think is like, I'm just going to sit back and, you know. I think Officer and the Gentleman, same deal, wasn't it? John Travolta was
I don't think I don't think John Travolta was in the picking for that, but I could be wrong too. But obviously he was casted beautifully for Officer and a Gentleman. Totally ruled that role.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
I love that one.
That was not long after this.
Not long
wasn't
after
it?
this one.
Sure.
I love the fact too that, you know, he can speak the 6 languages.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Not to mention, we just mentioned, I am a fan of Armani, so he fits an Armani suit beautifully.
Easy there.
Beautifully. I mean, beautifully. There's not much. I have to say, I enjoyed watching him. I do like how, as cheesy as it was, Michelle, the character, went to bat for him.
Yeah.
And I love how they kind of closed it off so that they could make it into a TV series years later.
Right.
Yeah.
It was so slow though. I was wondering when it was going to actually come to any kind of like, this is enjoyable. Oh, I understand the plot now kind of thing.
Hour and 57 minutes, it could have been done in a half.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. And so I did appreciate how they ended it. However, I don't think that was the right move in my opinion, but I appreciate how they ended it.
I think he should have been exonerated and just been done with it.
Right, absolutely.
But there again, I do think, like any other movie, they're trying to set it up for a sequel.
They were, and I think the story, the way I kind of took it, the way the story was written was like, okay, if you're going to do something bad and illegal or whatever, however you want to word it, you're going to pay a consequence, whether you're guilty for that particular thing or not. There's a consequence for it. That's sort of a weird way to do it, in my opinion, but I feel that's how they wrote it.
I agree.
You know, he's not guilty of murder, but
he is guilty of...
somebody saw him as guilty of breaking the law, and so they're going to make him pay, kind of thing. And I didn't like that.
Well, and not only that, too, you look at you're an escort.
Right.
How legal is that?
Well, and he even said it. I mean, he even said that, like, some people are above the law and they know who they are.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay. So,
but I do believe that this type of movie opened up a whole new genre of this topic.
Sure.
You know, you look on Showtime, they have Gigolo as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Deuce Bigalow, male Gigolo. Who could forget that one? Yeah. That comedy.
But on on the Showtime series, they actually have where they're following the 4 Gigolos as their...
I've never seen it, but
it's
I've
actually
seen it
pretty
advertised.
interesting. I've actually watched it, and it's pretty interesting what they have to go through.
Sure.
You know, the working out, the making sure that they're perfectly coiffed like we would as women.
Sure.
To make themselves copaesthetically pleasing to that opposite sex or the same sex, whatever they're choosing to service.
Sure.
So, I mean, I do believe that this kind of opened up a whole new, like,
understanding.
We can bring this to the film. We can bring sex type stuff to film.
Sure.
So, am I a fan of this? Would I ever watch this again? No.
No, for sure. No. It's not on my list. But, we're exploring 1980. There's, I would say at least 4, maybe 5 of these I've never seen. And I really enjoyed Brubaker. I mean, I really did enjoy that. That was a win for me, for sure. And, seeing Popeye again was like, it kind of, I talked about how my kids were little. It was kind of, that was the first time that I remember seeing it. My kids were little, and it was like one you could have on. Kind of a corny, weird thing for your little kids to see.
True.
So that was kind of fun to watch again for me. But
I did enjoy some of the movies that we did watch as well. I love the cinematography of The Shining.
Yes.
Was it scary enough for me? No. But during that time, it was scary for people.
For sure.
I loved I loved how you could watch the different stages of Jack Nicholson. I mean, true to his craft. I loved seeing where Robin Williams started in Popeye to, unfortunately, where he ended, where he did some really good, serious drama. I love Good Will Hunting. That would be one of my favorite movies. Brubaker, of course, I have a law enforcement degree, so I'm kind of interested in that whole penal code to begin with, not to mention the fact I'm a huge Robert Redford fan. Urban Cowboy, not so much, really didn't care for that, just because I'm not into goat roping, whatever.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And of course, Caddyshack. Let's not revisit.
See, that's one that one of the 13 that we've done for 1980. That one I do really enjoy. I laugh my ass off on that one.
Yeah, well, there again, perspectives.
Exactly, and that's the idea of conversation.
The one that I thought was just really drawn out too long was Tess.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I appreciated how authentic it was.
It's a period piece.
Yes, and they did a very, very good job with the authenticity of it.
Cinematography as well.
Yes. I think it won all kinds of awards.
It won a few. It won a few. And even this film, won an award for the musical soundtrack, for the music.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, many of the 13 they could stay in the vault and stay there.
What was interesting though, and we talked about, I mean, Empire Strikes Back, obviously,
yeah.
that one was great, but so many of these were like stepping stones. I mean, they were launching pads for so many amazing, Ghostbusters in 1984.
Yes.
You know, you had a mixture of the comedy and kind of the shining ghost, the creepy stuff, and you know, it just launching pad for all of this stuff in the 80s.
It opened up a lot of genres.
Yeah.
The John Hughes period, the Pretty in Pink, the Breakfast Club. It opened up that teenage angst, you know, where that was acceptable to talk about that.
Right.
You know, okay, my parents are driving me crazy, and now and it's kind of fun to revisit that because I know how I felt growing up. My parents were always on my back, and now I'm kind of wondering, I wonder if my kids think I was too.
Right.
So, you know, I kind of give my kid quite a bit more broach than what I had. But there again, it kind of takes you back. It's nostalgic.
Yeah, absolutely. So that wraps up 1980. 1999 is next.
Yeah.
I've got the list printed out.
Oh boy.
That's going to be fun. That's like one of your favorite years.
That was one of my, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that'll be a lot of fun. So
yeah, I'm excited.
We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your subscriptions. And you can email us. You remember the email?
No, I never do.
LegitQ at maddysmoviemix.com. We're not going to sell it. It's just, it's insurance that I'm going to see it because I don't really like social media. It's looking at comments is my superpower, and it is also my super weakness. So I don't always catch all the comments. So make sure you email if you really want to get in touch with us. Thanks so much.
Bye.
See you next time. Yay! Hammer the share button. Go ahead and hammer out a comment to us. Go ahead and hammer the like button. Go ahead and hammer the subscription button. Go ahead and hammer the notification bells because you know what? That's the best way you can support us. We appreciate it.